This week, we're looking at a 2015 A Christmas Carol.
To Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
You will be haunted by three spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
I'm Christmas present. Ho, ho, ho.
You may be a bit of undigested beef, a fragment of an underdone potato.
Scrooge is getting worse.
Bah humbug.
So, pretend you didn't see the title of this video, and I want to start by playing the first line from this film. We open on Charles Dickens saying,
Canada has and will always retain a foremost place in my remembrance.
With no context, that line makes absolutely no sense, and it only gets stranger from there. Let me explain, or better yet, I will let the director explain. According to Anthony D.P. Mann, who also plays Scrooge in the film and is one of the main creative forces behind the film, it was intended as a Canadian Christmas Carol, taking place in the early 1900s Eastern Ontario. However, U.S. distributors apparently removed the Canadian framing because they thought it would have less international appeals. And that knowledge is very important, because if you try and watch this as a straightforward adaptation of A Christmas Carol set in London in the 1840s, the film seems extremely poorly written and nonsensical. The costumes are wrong, the dialogue is too modern, the accents are off, and the setting does not quite read as Victorian England. But if it is called A Canadian Christmas Carol, that reframes the whole thing. It does not suddenly make it a great film, but it does make some of the, quote, wrongness make a whole lot more sense. In addition, this was made for under 10,000 Canadian dollars, with the help of many volunteers, local performers, and the notable actor Colin Baker donating his time to appear as Charles Dickens, which does give the film some more context. As I said, the film opens with Baker as Charles Dickens, seated in a dim study, staring directly into the audience's eyes, and beginning with a love letter to Canada. Dickens frames the story, interrupts it, and comments on it.
Oh, I do love a good ghost story at Christmas.
He even does his best to try and remind us that this film isn't supposed to be a Victorian age retelling.
This story could happen anywhere. It could even have happened here.
Baker then moves us on to Scrooge's counting house, which is where we're going to spend a whole lot of time. One benefit of this plot is that it streamlines the story. We enter on Scrooge rejecting the charity solicitor, giving the usual prisons and workhouse arguments, and we're off. We get Fred's rejection. We get a good old
Humbug.
We get the Christmas Day work negotiation, and we get Scrooge's heartfelt ballad to Marley.
You were the finest gentleman that ever I did know.
Oh yeah, this is a musical. The songs are not grand showstoppers. They're more like musical interludes, sometimes appearing so suddenly it surprises you. Speaking of surprises, Scrooge is surprised when, within the picture of Jacob Marley, Marley disappears. And Scrooge reacts just enough to let us know that's probably not normal. Then Marley appears in the office. The film keeps pulling us back to the counting house, giving the whole thing a very stage-bound feeling, working within a budget. Marley is fairly plain and unchained. He warns Scrooge and leaves, quick as that. Then Dickens cuts back in and questions,
Was it his imagination? A bad bit of beef or an undigested potato, perhaps? Or was Ebenezer Scrooge truly visited by a shadow from beyond the grave?
Then it comes to the Ghost of Christmas Past. In this version, all three spirits are played by women, which is actually somewhat of an interesting choice, if the film did anything with that. Past appears right after Scrooge barricades his office, and she takes him to his youth. Take might be a strong word here. The scenes just kind of appear, and supposedly Scrooge is seeing them with us. Another change this film makes is Marley takes young Scrooge to apprentice him in financial ruthlessness. So Marley is not just Scrooge's dead business partner here, he raised Scrooge into Scrooge, which is something we've seen in adaptation, but again, they don't really address it here. We then jump to Isabella, Scrooge's former lover. She sings to the unmoved young Scrooge, while the older Scrooge sings back to her, too late.
I know you are gone.
Now I am here.
That is actually an interesting staging choice. Scrooge is watching his past, but emotionally he's still participating in it. He cannot change what happens, but he can finally sing the grief that younger Scrooge refused to speak. Then quick as a flash, we move to the present. And present meets Scrooge outside the counting house. What an exciting change. Continuing with cutaway scenes, we see the reduced Cratchit family. Tiny Tim is the only child in this version, and he is meant to be sickly, though the film doesn't do much to show it. Even his size doesn't exactly scream tiny.
You're gonna grow up to be as big and strong
As you fall?
even bigger.
Then Bob and Tim talk about Christmas wishes, and Tiny Tim prays that. And for extra measure, we even get a. While this is nice that we are focused on the Cratchits, it's also where the film seems to lose Scrooge. For more than 8 minutes, and not a very long film, we don't see Scrooge at all, nor do we get any of his emotional reaction or growth. And that continues with Fred. We don't go to a traditional party, it's just Fred and his wife singing alone to each other, waiting for dinner. We then move on. Scrooge and Present go to the poorhouse, which we learn is full, leaving people waiting outside in the cold. We see an older Isabella helping them. The Present then reveals that Isabella never got married. I'm not a huge fan of that choice. In Dickens, Bella's whole function is that she leaves Scrooge and chooses a different life, finds happiness without him. And that kind of matters. It shows Scrooge that he is the one that lost something, not her. And with this adaptation, Bella staying single, it kind of means her life froze after Scrooge left. But we quickly move on to the future. The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come appears as a tall woman in black, wearing a rather distinct Victorian picture hat and veil. At first, she is silent just long enough for you to think the movie's doing the traditional wordless future. Then she speaks and jokes.
With the entirety of the rest of time ahead of me, you should think I'd have more to say than any of us.
Kinda. And even sings.
I have seen all.
It immediately makes her distinct, and her design gives her a rather nice gravitas. Future shows Scrooge, a closed-down counting house, people stealing from him, businessmen laughing about his death, and then, very quickly, his grave. But the grave is almost a blink-and-you-miss-it moment. The real emotional endpoint is not Scrooge's death, it's Tiny Tim. Scrooge sees Bob and Mrs. Cratchit mourning their son, and that begins to push him towards change. But his reaction is strange. He sits down in the church and rather calmly offers to trade his life for Tiny Tim, but then almost immediately realizes that if he's allowed to live, he could help Tim and other people.
I could make a change, couldn't I? Perhaps there is enough of my life left.
Which is not a bad idea structurally, but it's delivered so calmly that it feels less like a soul-shattering transformation and more like Scrooge has just thought of a good idea after a restful night. And with that, Scrooge wakes up, back at his counting house again. He realizes he's alive, that it's Christmas morning, and explodes into a rather measured and thoughtful song about the change he will make. He sings to Marley's picture, promises change, wanders through town, and even interrupts carolers with his own song.
Sing a song of Christmas, sing it in your heart. Let the light of Christmas fill your heart. Joy to the world.
He even goes to the poorhouse and sees Isabella. And this is where the film really sinks into its strange choices. After bringing Isabella back to the present, revealing that she never got married, tying her to Scrooge's possible redemption, the film gives them no conversation. They just look at each other from a distance. And we cut away. I think this exemplifies the biggest issue with this version. It continually cuts away from the meaningful moments. Instead of Scrooge reacting to his grave or begging for the chance to make things better or having a heartfelt reunion or even a joyful transformation at the end, we get very measured and pensive moments. Even the songs maintain a similar controlled level throughout the film.
Has it been 7 years since you went?
It's late, and tomorrow is a working day. It's nothing more, a new world with so much I couldn't see.
It feels like they're missing any of the escalation that's normally built into a Christmas Carol, where we go from miserly to heartfelt and lost and broken to hopeful and excited for the future. In this film, we get just the mere shadow of all that. And then we cut to a year later. In the epilogue, Scrooge is back at his desk, once again, with Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit. Tim, I guess, is healthier now, though he looks kind of the same. And Bob excitedly brings Scrooge a sign that says Scrooge and Cratchit. And then Scrooge takes a big old drink from his flask, which is just an odd visual detail that maybe makes more sense in Canada. Maybe, maybe not. Then Colin Baker returns as Dickens, to close things once again by staring directly into the audience's soul. And he ends with the classic Dickens quote,
Sing a song of Christmas. Sing it in your heart. Let the light of Christmas fill your heart.
Wait, that's not a Dickens quote? Well, it must be a song lyric. Is it something from Canada? No, it's just Okay. Well, I guess good sentiment. Well, that was this version. It is what it is. And you know, sometimes for a Christmas Carol, that's all it takes. And with that, we wrap up this Dickensian footnote. Until next time, I guess.
Just go, but be here all the earlier the next day.
Don't you